Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Man, we're a week away. For many of us, by next week, we'll be in Atlanta at this time. Checking out the festivities and getting ready for the big game the following Saturday. We'll get a chance maybe to get into that a little more in the second half of the show. We got quite a bit of news going around, so let's jump into it. This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Welcome to episode 341 Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash, all things HBCU sports with institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletics, aesthetics to facilitate the of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios, sending a signal live KSOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Graduation week down here in Texas Southern, so I wanted to take a little bit of umbrance and shout out to one of my best men. I had the other one actually that works with me on the show, Mike Washington. The other one, and my roommate in college is Alan Williams. His son, my godson, Joseph Williams, graduating from Texas Southern University. He had 21 hours, Charles. You'll appreciate this kind of stuff. 21 hours this semester to make sure he could graduate. Did it with a 4.0. So shout out to Alan Williams.
21 hours with a 4.0.
See him as a proud dad with the Texas Southern. I mean, when he transferred in there, I surprised him, and I did one with the mom for Tammy to make sure that they were welcome to Texas Southern University appropriate. So thank you for giving me a chance to do a little shout out there. Obviously, as Alpha Brothers, I give y'all a chance to do a little shout out to them as well. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, so I've known this young man for a while. I've known Alan. That was his AD when he was pledging. So, you know, the roots go deep. But, you know,
Did he just use the word pledging?
I'm just throwing it out there so loosely. It's another era.
You know he old school.
I'm 52 years old, so I don't care. What you gonna do to me? I'm like
statute of limitations of past.
So yeah, but no, I was man when he first met his wife Tammy. I was there. Brother Cavil was there. So we've known each other for quite some time. Beautiful family. They've set a firm foundation, and it was nice to see this young man plug away, plug at it hard. Young brother, 21 hours, 4.0. What more can you say? So, but congratulations to Alan, to Tammy, to the whole family, man. We've known them for so long. So when one celebrates something, it's like we all celebrate something. So I'm just really happy for him. So congratulations again.
And Charles, he didn't share the fact that both of the brothers actually crossed Alpha down here at the same time. We were all there, proud going through that process as we did our training and everything. We were legitimate through the process, Charles. Just I know you be watching and making notes for everybody. Make sure you do right.
There was a process. There was a process.
Hey, I'm just saying we don't want no problems. You know, you got the regional directors. Everybody be watching. Mike,
we learned them damn points. We learned them damn points.
Out of control. Hey, Charles, get us out of this. Get us out of this. Go ahead.
I know, right?
You met these brothers for homecoming and game. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I definitely want to say congratulations to the family. I mean, I echo the sentiments that you gentlemen have said before. I mean, 21 hours 4.0. That is just beyond amazing. And then you enter that new phase in your life. So congratulations with regards to graduation. It is a monumental step to get through college and go forward. So I know those are some very, very proud parents. So kudos.
Yeah, we pulled Alan in every once in a while when one of the team members out on assignment. He'll come in and do a show. You probably noticed him on 1876 Sports and Culture as he teams up with Mike and Joe, Roland, Shanetta, Gotti, Whamma, in terms of those folks that are getting it done over there on that side. With that being said, let's get in some other news. Take a moment of silence for the box band that has lost 3 members down there. You know, we always acknowledge those that have carried the brand of HBCUs. Unfortunately for them, they lose it way too early. Tragic episode. So I want to take a moment of silence for them. With that being said, we got some other news out there. It sounds like we got some folks that are packing up their bags and moving. So, you know, we talked a little bit about Coach Brown, Deion Sanders, as he was going to Colorado. Looks like Danzy has resigned and he's moving on, and he's going west, my friends. He's going west, my friends. In this case, a little bit of Mountain West in terms of the Pac-12 in the Colorado area. So congratulations for him. Obviously, a coach that a lot of us respect in the league, the way he grinded. I will say this, it's a great opportunity for him. I think we're missing in terms of Valley, SWAC, and HBCUs, but as somebody that has tended to follow Prairie View for a couple of times over the last few years, for sure, maybe Prairie View can find a way to beat Valley again.
I said it on the chat. You just
maybe it was. I'm sorry. I was supposed to say it. All right.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look, you take a look at Coach Dancy. I mean, all that he does or has done in Mississippi Valley, despite the resources, you know, Valley is going to fight you tooth and nail every week. And for him to get this opportunity, man, kudos to Coach Dancy. And, you know, you never know. You get up there and you get this seasoning, if you will. You never know where you might see him again. So.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Good stuff when you talk about it. Let me go to you, Charles, in terms of some other news of the day that you want to share.
Yeah, let's take a look at MEAC. They announced their weekly women's basketball honors presented by Coca-Cola. Howard University junior Destiny Howell was selected as the MEAC Women's Basketball Player of the Week, and Jayla Bannerman was named the Rookie of the Week, and Norfolk State graduate guard Camille Downs was named Defensive Player of the Week. Let's take a look at their stats. Howell, the 6-foot guard from Queens, New York, averaged 23 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 steals, and a pair of Bison wins this past week, shooting a combined 19 of 39 from the field, 49% from the floor. Against America, she dropped a career high 34 points on 13 of 21 shooting, hitting 5 threes and adding 4 rebounds and 3 steals. She followed that up with a game against Elon where she had 12 points and 3 steals. Bannerman, the Rookie of the Week, she averaged 14 points and 1.7 assists this past week for the Hawks as they went 2-1. She dropped 17 points in the wins over Virginia Union and Navy, going 5 of 11 from the floor in both contests. And Downs, as the Defensive Player of the Week, average, get this, Doc, 4.5 steals per game in helping the Spartans extend their winning streak to 8 games with wins over Hampton and the Jersey Institute of Technology. She grabbed 5 steals against Hampton and added 4 more against NJIT. So those are your Players of the Week on the women's side in the MEAC.
Good stuff going on with the Players of the Week, particularly for the women, men that you shouting out MEAC. I want to go back a little bit baseball. I know both of y'all are big-time baseball fans, particularly with HBCUs. A little early in the season for this, but we got news out there. You have Ken Griffey Jr., World Series champion Houston Astros, announcing the HBCU Classic. I put this out on Instagram yesterday as I saw it released and knew it was coming as I've worked with the Astros RBI program over here with Mr. Wade, as he told me that he wanted to see about some consulting and get they're done in big time matchup SWAC teams involved. You got 4 coming out of the West, 2 out of the East. That is Jackson State, Mississippi Valley that we just talked about, Grambling, Prairie View, Southern, and Texas Southern will be involved in the classic Jack, if you would, classic in so many ways, which is fascinating when you talk about Cactus Jack Classic, hosted by the World Series champion Astros in partnership between the Astros Foundation and Cactus Jack Foundation, founded by rapper Travis Scott. Quote, I am excited to partner with my hometown team, the world champion Houston Astros. I like the way that rolls off as well, the tongue, to showcase the top-tier talent of HBCU student athletes, said Scott in a statement. Quote, supporting HBCUs are an integral part of my family history and present. I want to thank the Astros organization for the commitment to giving HBCU teams the opportunity to compete at one of the best stadiums in the world. Obviously, we've heard about the scholarships and other things that Travis Scott has done in partnership with HBCUs or students that are wanting to attend HBCUs. More of that, the Cactus Jack Classic is a tournament that will feature 6 HBCU, will be held February the 17th and 19th. So as it gets closer, we'll make sure you know a little bit about that. Teams set to play in the tournament include Grambling State, Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, Prairie View A&M Southern, and Texas Southern, as I said a little bit earlier. The other one I talked about when we talked about King Griffey, check this out. Also, MLB has announced the launch of the, quote, HBCU Swingman Classic, an annual all-star game for HBCU baseball players at the Division I level. This game is partnered by MLB, the MLB Players Association's Youth Development Foundation, and Hall of Fame center fielder Ken Griffey Jr. is involved in this. K-Dog is still working with Major League Baseball, and his hands and tentacles are all over this as well. Last quote I'll give you before we move on, quote, is the industry's joint foundation. We're proud to create and invest in the new opportunities to level the playing field and ensure that families' financial means isn't a defining limit to having the youth play baseball, end quote. That's by John Lee Batros, MLBPA Youth Development Executive Director. Our friend Ken Griffey Jr. has been a tireless ambassador helping us achieve our organization's goals. We're excited to launch the inaugural HBCU Swingman Classic as a unique and innovative experience to highlight African-American talent on the national stage and encourage finding solutions to improving college scholarships for baseball. Good stuff there. Let me go to you, Mike. What else you want to put on the table?
So there's lots on the table. Before we go back to the hardwood, want to know, did we really give Coach Simmons his kudos for being named AVCA FCS Region 3 Coach of the Year? I can't remember. If I did,
no. Shout that out. We had. Go ahead.
Yeah, Florida A&M head football coach Willie Simmons has been named AVCA Region 3 Coach of the Year after completing his 3rd consecutive year, 9-win season, and top 25 ranking with the Rattlers. He became the 3rd FAMU coach to earn Coach of the Year, as Jake Gaither earned recognition in 1960, 61, and 63, and Rudy Hubbard in 1977. So big time congratulations. If you look at the divisions of the regions, you had Bob Chesney, College of Holy Cross. You had Region 2, Chris Hatcher from Sanford, not Stanford, Sanford with an M. Then Region 3, you had Coach Willie Simmons, who still won't give me my visor, but I love you, Coach Simmons, from Florida A&M. Region 4, John Steigermeyer from South Dakota State. And then Region 5, Troy Taylor from Sacramento State. He's in good company, so well-deserved. Everybody's coach. Congratulations, Coach Simmons.
Oh, good stuff. Hey, check this out, Charles. Your buddy over there in Memphis. Tennessee, all of cities start to sound like Arkansas Pine Bluff to meet Tennessee State in the 2023 Southern Heritage Classic. Looks like they're going to play in 2 years, 23 and 24, after facing off against Tennessee State for over 2 decades. Jackson State, as we all know, pulled out of the Southern Heritage Classic in terms of that matchup, but they found another proponent, which is Arkansas Pine Bluff. Remember, they played a couple of years ago, and in that game, Arkansas Pine Bluff won in 2019, defeating Tennessee State 37-30. If 37-3. Let me get that correct there. So it should be interesting when you talk about what that looks like in that matchup. Should be interesting regional, some things like that. It could work, and we'll see what that looks like. As it looks like the Southern Heritage Classic will be able to move on with some featured teams. Charles, what else you got on the plate?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. I got a couple pieces here. Southern's Buck Buchanan Award winner Jordan Lewis. He has decided to enter the 2023 NFL Draft. Of course, he had a productive career at Southern, winning the Buck Buchanan Award during the spring season, one of the more feared pass rushers in the SWAC, so he will be entering the 2023 NFL Draft. I'm going to stay with the Basketball Weekly Honors here, Doc. The SWAC has tabbed Alabama State's Jayla Crawford and Cordasia Harris for the SWAC Women's Basketball Weekly Honors for their outstanding performance. Crawford posted outstanding performance for the Lady Hornets against Texas Tech and Abilene Christian during this past week. She recorded 51 points, 8 rebounds, 4 steals, and 2 assists during the week. She averaged 25.5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and an assist in 2 non-conference outings. And Cordasia Harris, she contributed significantly to the Lady Hornets matchups against Texas Tech and Abilene Christian during the past week. She posted 27 points, 10 rebounds, a block, and a steal for the week, averaging 13.5 points and 5 rebounds in those 2 non-conference outings. On the men's side in the SWAC, SWAC tab Jackson State's Coach Young and Trace Young for the SWAC Men's Basketball Weekly Honors for their outstanding performances. Coach Young delivered an impressive week while averaging 19 points per game and 2 outings. He had 20 points, leading all scorers in a non-conference outing versus Miami of Ohio. And then Jackson State followed that up with a 69-68 upset win over SMU, where Coach Young scored 18 points. And then Trace Young, he averaged 14 points for the past week, highlighted by an impressive 28-point outing in Jackson State's 69-68 upset of SMU. So those were your SWAC women's and men's players of the week.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Before we go off, I'd be remiss if we didn't stretch a little bit and put this out there. I think this is important. Black College Football Hall of Fame class of 2023 announced. And the key folks involved in this Hall of Fame class of 2023 include Leslie Frazier, Alcorn State University, Henry Keller Lawrence, that nickname, Florida A&M University, Albert Lewis, Grambling State University, Jim Marsalis, Tennessee State University, Tyrone McGriff, Florida A&M University, Elijah Pitts, Orlando Smith College, Johnny Walton, Elizabeth City State University, and Coach Pete Richardson, Southern University, and Winston-Salem State University as the coach will be this class. When you talk about the Black College Hall of Fame, class of 2023 will be honored at the 14th Annual Black College Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony presented by Atlanta Falcons on June 10th, 2023. The induction ceremony takes place at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia, but they will also be recognized at the 2nd Annual HBCU Legacy Bowl on February 25th, 2023 at Yeoman Stadium in New Orleans, Louisiana, which will be broadcast live on the NFL Network at 3 p.m. Just to give you a little heads up of where you can continue to watch some of these players as they seek to get an opportunity on the next level. So fascinating stuff there. One last one. I'll put this little plug there before we take this break. CIAA. A.D. Drew talked about Bluefield State was looking at the CIAA. And CIAA, they decide, and it looks like they'll be heading to the CIAA at Bluefield State. The other thing is that the CIAA is cutting ties with Sawan, as they were, just remember, just a partial member, if you would, affiliate member in football, not the other sports. So it looks like Bluefield is in. As sources, according to HBCU Game Day, Stephen Gates is saying that they did receive the vote. So we'll see an official announcement probably sometime soon as they move over. As you know, we've talked a little bit about Bluefield State. They have a record of 3-1 against the CIAA competition for the last 2 seasons. So it should be interesting moving forward, as it looks like we have more conference churning this time at the Division II level in CIAA. With that, let's get into our first break. We'll be right back on the other side. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
Let's get back to getting ticks instead of watching flicks. Before we can safely get out there, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your crew.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Since 2002.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Boy, I love to take the breaks, man. They just be hilarious at times. We do need, as Drew has said many times, we need to record the outtakes. With that being said, welcome back to 7-2. Let's get into the marching sport as we get into. We're only going to do the top 5 because the rest of it stayed the same. A couple of changes in the top 5, which will make for interesting final week when we get into the Celebration Bowl. Let's get into it. At number 5, we have none other than Florida A&M marching 100. 4-1 on the season, 3-1. Obviously, their season is complete as they are 4-1, 3-1. That's 58 points remaining at number 5. Let's get in number 4. We got some changes here. Southern Human Jukebox fall from 5-2, 4-1 on the season. 70 points. Fall from the 3rd spot. I hadn't seen in a while where a team loses twice in one season. It's got to be tough. I know they're going to come at it, but, you know, they really did a better effort than they did the first time. Close, but no cigar. Bringing us to number 3. North Carolina Central Sound Machine Marching Band, 3-0, one first place vote as they took one from Southern because of the loss. 76 points, jumping up a spot as Southern falls to number 4. Bringing us to number 2, Alabama State Mighty Marching Hornets. Obviously, season old, 4-1, 2-1, 2 first place votes. So they stay at number 2 with that being matchup, which means number 1, Jackson State Sonic Boom of the South. Look at how many competitions they had. 10. I want everybody to pause on that. 10 competitions. They went out. They performed in matchups. This is not just playing at your home games, right? This is going on the road. That's how you get 10. Also in terms of performing when teams come to you with that. When we talk about teams, we're talking about the bands, marching sport, because we're looking at this in terms of competition. Head-to-head matchup. Jackson State, 9-1, 7-1. Can they get to the proverbial 10 mark? That has not done. Last year, Southern had a huge march where they performed in like 9 contests and got into the 8-win margin, if you would. Can they get in double digits? Can they take the home trophy in terms of the marching sport? They get a chance to face the top 5 program, North Carolina Central Sound Machine Marching Band. Can, in what many people's eyes would be a major upset, can the Sound Machine Marching Band take on some of these mighty SWAC representatives, which you see here, which is loaded in the top 5. Jackson State has went the gauntlet. Do they have a chance to make that statement? It'll be interesting to see. Charles, as you talked about, one of your key indicators, can you get the crowd in the game? Be fascinating because you have capacity. Ticket sales, my understanding, standing room only. So the people will be there. Will they engage them and get them into the matchup? What are your thoughts in terms of my top 5? What are your top thoughts of the matchup?
There was a opportunity at the SWAC championship where I wanted you to notice exactly what it is I've been talking about. Jackson State had the momentum in the first quarter. They're making plays, and the boom is playing, and the crowd is engaged. And it was the perfect synergy, not only with the band, the football team, but the DJ as well. I mean, all elements came into play. And then later on, when Southern starts making their comeback, I thought they did a tremendous job of getting their fans re-engaged with band playing stuff, playing underneath the action that was going on, and continuing the momentum with regards to trying to get that team, and fan base continuously engaged in the game. And then both bands, they just went at it with regards to what they were playing. I will say, I was walking to the locker room at one point, and Southern played Jill Scott's Long Walk Home. I had to turn back around because it sounded so pretty.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
Yeah. So, that was a pause moment for me. But, I mean, you can't say enough about the Sonic Boom in the South. Like you said, they take everybody's best shot week in, week out. Like you said, 9 wins. It was tremendous. I mean, they had a heck of a year. I give them credit. We are we are champions down on the field. That was a pause moment for me.
Oh, yeah, that was nice. Yeah. That was very appropriate. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't hear him play the song that CB mentioned, the Jill Scott song. What I did see, because we had a watch party, what they did show is Southern's band engaging the audience. They didn't show half of it. That, to me, that alone, that factor, in the second half, and that's what CB talked about it. Heck, Shanetta Haskell was a former band major at Prairie View A&M on our show, has talked about it. Just a simple ability to get your fans engaged. That piece right there, that did it for me for Southern. So
I think they're the best at it. I I really do. Yeah, they're the best at engaging the team and engaging the fans. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do agree with that. The Southern is the best at engaging. That's why them not taking that trip to FAMU is really tough in terms of what that is. But just one matchup. With that being said, since we snuck in there a little bit about FAM Top 5, and you said about Willie Simmons, the head coach of the year. So we got a clip we're going to play for you. But before we get in the clip and play for you, because he talks about a couple of things there. He has come out. Willie Simmons denies Deion Sanders offered him a job staying at FAMU. Florida A&M head coach Willie Simmons says he has never offered a job by Deion Sanders and is staying put. So he put that to rest, or at least for those that want to listen to the coach. I remember when it came out during the game on Saturday, I told him that I hadn't heard that yet, but I told everybody about Dancy. So I feel like I am the point of contact when it comes to these updates. I was right on that one. I didn't say this one, so it's interesting to see what that looks like. But let's play the clip by Willie Simmons in terms of some other things that he wanted to share during the time that he shared that he was staying at FAMU.
100% goes to the conference, and the conference decides how they want to distribute that money within it. And so the concept that I said was, okay, if you took the 2 champions, the MEAC champion, the SWAC champion, and then say you took the next 2 best teams and you created a semifinal game like the FBS has, say you played that game in Houston, Charlotte, Miami, wherever, in a bowl game setting, that's revenue to the conference. And then the 2 winners play in the Celebration Bowl, which would be the true championship, right? I think that would be a probably decent concept. So the bowls, 0% goes to NCAA, 100% goes to the conference. And the conference decides how they want to distribute that money within it. And so the concept that I said was, okay, if you took the 2 champions, the MEAC champion, the SWAC champion, and then say you took the next
pause there as he's going back through it. But what I love is the fact that you can tell folks are excited about what we say on the show. A couple of stuff ago, I asked each of you all your opinions on should we expand this framework or is this like the playoffs? And so I'm glad that Coach Willie Simmons agrees with the framework. And he has a great platform to put it out there. So I want to celebrate Coach Simmons, for acknowledging the fact that we know what we're talking about. Before we take this next break, I did want to get your opinions again, since he put it back out there in all seriousness. And you've heard this churn over the last couple of weeks. Talked about it on Twitter Spaces last night with Joshua Sims Jr., where he really got into it based on the fact the discussion we had on the Sunday before last. You all chopped it up. I know Charles has a little bit of concerns there. Mike talked about how to measure the metrics. But as it now has grown tentacles based on when we first talked about it, and you see even some coaches that like the idea of it. Mike, what is your thoughts? Has anything changed since you talked about it a couple of weeks ago?
No, I think even in there, I think it's starting to garner more support, not just from Coach Simmons, but we started talking about it. You hear folks talking, and it's kind of like that proverbial snowball. I think what he says makes sense, and it brings new perspective if you hear him speak to it. You hear him talk to it, and you hear the tone in his voice, and he really sounds genuinely supportive of a system. Sounds like something he's kind of wanted for some time. And I think if you look at the value that it brings to the SWAC, the schools, the conference, I think now, we in no brainer now. Let's put pen to paper. Let's get a straw man. Let's get a skeleton out there for 2-3 years out when to start this thing. That's kind of where I'm at. So my opinion has not changed. I think it's the right way to go. I think it's a great idea.
Did we not have a de facto playoff during the last 2-3 weeks of the season?
I would say we did. And I told you, Coach Scott, what Howard says that Howard's head coach says with 5 games that they have a de facto playoff the last 5-6 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, to me, what you took place with the SWAC championship game, you got a playoff semifinals, at least on the SWAC side, to see who gets to go to that. So, yeah, there can be some fact that you already have it. So, be interesting to see what that looks like. Maybe we get a chance to ask the expert in terms of what that looks like or what it would take in terms of that matchup. We'll be right back after this break. As Dr. Ville's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. On the other side, we'll have our guests.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. We have none other than the Executive Director, John Grant of the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl. How you doing today?
I'm great, guys. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, no doubt. I heard you had a full day today.
We did. We had our coaches media day today at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we're delighted to have everyone in. and it was very successful. And we were excited to get this launched.
I know you wished to me a couple of weeks ago because we were talking a little bit about the Celebration Bowl and the SWAC championship game. The winner of that would go. And at that time, I'm not sure if there were any tickets. I guess there was standing room only. Where are we with ticket sales?
Standing room only.
I tried to hold some. These folks get no tickets. That's a good luxury to have, seriously. Go ahead.
Prior to this past Saturday SWAC championship, we opened standing room only at around 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And so at this point, we put 1,000 tickets on sale. Those are almost gone. And we will, after that, we'll add another 1,500. Once those are depleted, there's nothing left. There are still tickets out there on the secondary market. If people certainly want to go to SeatGeek and some of the other sites, there are some tickets in those locations. But as far as we're concerned, we're nearly done.
That's wow. Nearly a week before.
Wow.
10 days for sure before the event. With that being said, let me go ahead and let Mike jump in here with a follow-up question.
Yeah. So as we go into this year and, this thing, the bowl has kind of its own unique, I guess, culture, and it's grown over the years, So as I said, is there anything, I guess, maybe new going into this year? Maybe it's the advertising, is there just anything you could share with us that's new this year that we can expect in the total bowl experience, I'll say?
Yes, there is. I think what we're finally beginning to see, Michael, and that's a great question, is that fans, regardless of your institution, fans are beginning to embrace the Cricket Celebration Bowl for what it is, and that is the HBCU Super Bowl. And we're seeing that. We started seeing that actually after last year's bowl game, because people started booking their rooms as they were checking out. They were booking their rooms for this year, and we know that showed up in the fact that even before a SWAC champion was even determined, we were sold out literally a week before the SWAC championship game, but we held those standing room only tickets until the SWAC championship game to make sure that there was some availability out there. But as far as the weekend itself is concerned, what fans can expect, our fan experience, which has historically been on just Saturday, we've now opened it up. It's now Friday and Saturday. So from 6 until 9 p.m. on Friday evening, people can come down to George World Congress Center International Plaza. We've got some concerts going on, performances out there that evening. Our corporate activations are taking place, music, DJs, fun, food, all of that happening on Friday night. That's something that we've added this year so that fans who are coming into town have something to do other than just being in the hotel, that there's a place they can come down to and have some fun. Actually, that fan experience is happening, Michael, just before the Maxwell concert, which is right next door in State Farm Arena. So you get to come down early, park, enjoy the festivities, and then go into State Farm Arena for the Maxwell concert.
Oh,
yeah, nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong with that.
Do that. Always something. He's always mixing in that pot. We would swear you Louisiana area gumbo, but North Carolina. But I guess they're able to make some of that good soup up that way as well. Charles, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, John, I wanted to ask this question. I mean, we've really watched this Celebration Bowl really take off. Are there times that you sit back and really kind of, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, sit back and just admire the work that you've put in and where it has grown to, and that it is on an upward trajectory even more?
Another great question. The answer to that is no. Because, we are operating and we're constantly reinforcing that with our staff and our team. We're operating on a 50-year plan. We're 50 years out and we're working ourselves backwards. What do we want this bowl to be like in 50 years? So, I'm gonna, I've always been impressed by, again, what Coach Sanders and the way he coaches his players, and he talks about how do you want to dominate, and that's what we want to do in the bowl space. How do we dominate? How do we, as a young 7-year-old FCS bowl game that's on the radar, and we're in the arena with the David, and that we're David with the Goliath, that we want to make sure we got the right rock in the slingshot, and that, as we are taking those shots, that we're moving this bowl game forward. And that requires a lot, Charles. It requires a lot. It's going to require not just on the side with the fans, but it's going to require on the side of administrations to change the way we look at things and how our institutions come to the table to build together this opportunity, because we are sitting on a gold mine. And it's bigger than any individual. It's bigger than any one institution, and it's bigger than whether someone's sitting in the front office or they're sitting in the back office. We as HBCU alums are in a moment where we can create something that 100 years from now can be the pantheon for HBCUs. And I'll say this, and I'm very specific in what I say. You get what you mouth. So when we pour mouth about what we don't have, we get what we don't have. When we focus on what we do have and we allow those things to be unleashed, then we get all kinds of possibilities. This Celebration Bowl 50 years from now, which will be long past us, is going to be one of the greatest shows on earth. Why? Because we're going to do what we have to do today to make sure that that's the case.
With that being said, you talked about dominate. Obviously, Coach Prime talks about that. Other coaches talk about season today, win, what's important now, all these different ways that people can express about sharpening skills to be at the top. How do you measure some of the things to show where you are on the metric tree, as Mike would say, these data points that let you know that you're trending in an area where you're dominating or creating an environment where you can dominate?
Another great question, and thank you for asking that. One of the things historically, our HBCU games, our bowl games, we measure ourselves in terms of largesse on how many people are in the stands. Well, in the spaces where we are operating with the bowl business, their measurement in terms of success is on total live audience. And television is at the center of that. And that you're looking at how many people are watching the game, how many people are streaming the game, how many people are consuming this content out of home. And then, of course, you add into that the how many people are present. Well, the Celebration Bowl has nearly 3 million viewers. There is not a venue in the world that can hold 3 million people. So, and when you consider you got a total live audience of 3 million, and how does that compare, Dr. Cavil, with other bowls? So there were 39 bowls played last year. Of the 39 bowl games, in terms of total live audience, the Celebration Bowl was number 11 out of 39. Now, 3 games out of the 42, because there are a total of 42 bowls, but 3 weren't played because of COVID. But if we're number 11, let's take out the New Year's Six and the national championship, because the New Year's Six, they're the older bowl. They're bigger by virtue of who they are. That leaves you with 32 games, but it also moves the Celebration Bowl to number 4 from number 11. So in any metrics, especially in this space, that's a home run. And so how do we continue to make that better? How do we continue to grow that total live audience number? And that means that we have to constantly be innovative in how we deliver and produce and create our content so that people out there who have no connection to HBCUs at all, but they want to make sure that they're tuning in to consume it. So this is a national, some people want to refer to this as a pseudo national championship. It is not. It is the HBCU national championship game. And the fact that we're that we opened the bowl season with a championship game speaks volume to what people really want to watch versus just another bowl. And all the bowls are important, but they're not all championships. There are only two. Cricket Celebration Bowl and the CFP Championship game are the only two bowl games that crown national champions.
That's pretty big when you talk about from a bowl game perspective. Do you have time to stick around with us? We'd like to take a break, come back on the other side. If you have to stay, we'll do that quickly and have you around a couple of more rounds of questions since you got into it. We'll get into some games. We talked about the business. I have one more question that was around how you think and move forward with a strategic mindset. I want to get into that as well, since we have, a businessman here and so much of sports about business, which is the side that we like to talk on the show, not just about the culture, not just about the game and the sports, but also provide some business perspective for all our viewers and the lab listeners. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Don't worry, Ma. We'll be there soon.
We? Is this the one?
Well, let's say I found the one who takes me to another level. Always stays calm under pressure. Most importantly, the one that helps me discover the coolest places.
This sounds wonderful.
Come outside, I'll introduce you.
They're here.
Definitely the one.
Introducing the all-new Nissan Frontier.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and the Executive Director of the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl, as well as MEAC SWAC Challenge for those that keep up with this. Things open up in Atlanta and they close in Atlanta. And so those are the places that you want to be, and that is none other than John Grant, that Executive Director. I wanted to continue on the business before we get on the playing field. This one is more about innovation, strategy, vision, tactical application, right? What does that look like in that mindset? Obviously all the individuals that came together to create this to where it is today with you leading it, in a lot of ways, for strategy, innovation, vision in place to see what that looks like. There's a little more talk out there in terms of the nexus. And I know in some ways we got to make sure we dominate where we are today. And so if you can kind of put those two in perspective with the talk, and you can kind of blame us, we put this out there a little bit and other folks run with it. And part of that is just telling folks to always think and getting them to be comfortable where we are now versus trying to pull us back, as we kind of said in the break. There's some talking about, do we expand? You talked about only 2 championships. the Black College National Championship and the CFP Championship. Obviously, there is a 4-game setup in where there's essentially a semifinals, 2 bowl games in the finals. What would you see in the future in innovation? What would it take for us to even put that on the table where that would be an option, where you'd have maybe 2 automatic bids from the MEAC and SWAC, or a champion of those, and then maybe 2 large bids where some type of committee or yourself maybe selects 2 at-large bids to play over some period of time where you had a semifinals, then a championship game. I will put the caveat out there that Charles is acknowledged Bishop, and in some ways, at least on the SWAC side, you almost have a semifinals. And I put that as well when you look at the SWAC championship game. So I know there's a lot in there, but if anybody can unpack that, that's you talking about why it's important now to do what we're doing and understanding the impact, both more just in terms of attendance and selling out, being able to sell out a game 2 weeks before, no matter who's playing the game, everybody being there. And even if your team doesn't get there, that you can come yourself or resell your ticket, that we understand the value of how that works, but also making sure that we're watching on television, expanding that brand. What does that look like so you can get to a place where you can have a HBCU playoff, if you will?
Well, the idea around that, has some merit. The challenges are we only have 2 conferences.
Okay.
And being able to build out a model that is economically sound, not just, I'm talking about economically sound and sellable. And that's sellable relative to from the media side, because you have to have the right media partner that can bring the value to that also helps bring advertisers and fan interest. Do you have the capacity around driving fan interest and viewer interest? So being innovative means you got to really stay close to the trends and how people are consuming content, and what can a game do in terms of what we do. How can we make the content that we create, which for us, this isn't about putting on a football game. This is about creating a content that is consumed whether you're there in person, and consumed specifically by a larger audience, and that is those that are watching it, regardless of the platform on which they're watching it. How do we create something that is appealing? Championships are appealing. And so if you look at the models that are out there right now, with what the CFP is doing, and they're talking expansion, but keep in mind, prior to the CFP, you had the BCS. So they've been doing this, and then prior to that, you had bowl games where national champions was somewhat played for, but they were voted on. So this didn't happen overnight. It has been a something that's happened over a long period of time. And we've all heard the term haste makes waste. We've got to dominate where we are. How do we build this current bowl that we have into something that is strong and that has a platform that's long-term and sustainable? Then it's going to require more than just, hey, this is something we want to do. It's going to require that institutions change the way they look, how they approach this, what the role athletics have in the development of institutional awareness, and that there's nothing wrong with coaches being the face of institutions. Absolutely nothing. If I ask you the question right now, who's the president of Alabama? You couldn't tell me. Who's the president of Clemson? You couldn't tell me. Who's the president of Michigan? I'm going to pull those teams that are playing in the 4. Do you know who the president of TCU is? Do you know who the president of Georgia is? No one can call their name, because they understand that the business of this is not relevant that their name be known. What's relevant is that the name and the brand of the institution is elevated. And when that occurs, the job that they have to do becomes a lot easier to do.
Absolutely.
We aren't there yet, and we have to get there if we're going to be successful. So we don't need to be talking about playoffs and all that yet. What we need to talk about is, how are we going to change the culture of how we go about doing the business that we do, and being engaged in the business of sports in a way that can produce the kind of revenue that our institutions require. And it's not going to happen any other way. I'm going to be honest with you. No one has a television program that comes on every Saturday that gives you a 3.5-hour program on the academics of an institution. No one. But we do have programs that come on every Saturday for 3.5 hours that's showing the athletic programs of those institutions, where you sprinkle the message of your institution into that. Until we get to that place, and I'm confident that we will, then we're going to always languish behind. But we have a moment that we're in right now with this bowl game. We're in the arena. And we're the only two conferences that are in the arena. What we won't do, we as a bowl game, we're not going to allow that to be blown in any way, shape, form, or fashion, because it's too valuable to have it. And I'm thankful for commissioners like Commissioner McKinnon and Commissioner Steele, who are equally as committed to that. And they've been great partners with us in assuring the success that we've experienced to date so far.
Perfect. Charles, did you have a quick one that you wanted to get in there?
Really quick. Sure. What does that look like to bring presidents to the table with regards to understanding this economic engine that we have? I see you all have women in athletics workshops. I mean, what does it look like to bring people to the table to understand athletics can be the front door to the university?
Well, I know that things take time. HBCUs have been in existence for a long time. We've only been in this place where the amount of media coverage we have of our sporting events, the number of networks that are interested in covering them for a short period of time. I mean, the Celebration Bowl is 7 years old. But we do recognize it's a process of education, and we have to get in front of these individuals to talk about how culture, and that's a part of it, how we have to change the culture of what it means to build viable, strong institutions that allow the assets that we have. And right now, HBCU assets are the hottest thing out there. But we have to change how the institutions see themselves and how they do business in order for that to flow. If we don't, I'm just going to be transparent. If we don't, then you can't have a person like Deion Sanders, because he's functioning at a whole different level.
Yep.
And that's not a knock. It's just a fact. And so we have the same thing here. The Celebration Bowl, we're going to function at a whole different level. No, regardless. And we're going to do that so we can assure the Rose Bowl pays $40 million per conference. $40 million. They're 103 years old. We can do that. Not going to do it overnight, but it's going to require some change. It's going to require commitment. It's going to require everyone rallying around that, hey, this is something that's important, and how do we build it as an asset, which is what they did there.
Yeah.
And that's why the Rose Bowl is 103. They have the influence that they have in the ecosystem of bowls, and that's why they can pay out that amount of money because of it. Long answer to your question, Charles, but I think it's important for us to realize that this is straight business.
Sure.
No doubt about it.
Well, you talked about business. You talked about the sport context of business. You talked about mixing in the culture, understanding how you got to change the culture to make sure they truly understand the value of the business and the value of the assets you have. I want to change the page and get a little bit about telling the story of what's on the field. So if you allow us, this was so good. Let's take another break, come back on the other side and go a little bit in overtime and keep you just a short bit. And we'll talk about the assets as we transition in the culture and the business about telling the story of what's on the field, because I feel like We've had some great players. We've had great teams, great coaches, but I'm not sure if we quite had a matchup like this. I'll come back on the other side and see if I can tell the story and let you tell me if I'm on it in regards to what that looks like. Stick with us. We're going to give you a little overtime. We'll come back since we have a great anatomy conversation. A lot of folks are asking about it and want to hear more. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports. So giving you a little overtime to the lab and the lab listeners. Thanks for all those sticking around. Wanted to get inside the story of the game. Obviously, this is Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. And we're here with the Executive Director, John Grant of the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl. You know, I do the poll rankings weekly. Take it extremely serious. We joke around with it. But we watch, and I watch these games, whether they're on television with the broadcast, which is more than we ever seen, as you noted. I get to go to the game and really get on the field, watch it from the press box. So I spend a lot of time looking at the matchups, and my colleagues do too. And so we've ranked the polls week after week. Ultimately, this year, first time in a while, where you feature a number one versus a number two matchup, and they're teams that have clearly separated themselves from everybody else for the most part, right? You have number one, undefeated, all first place votes in the poll, Jackson State University, coming in at 12-0, winning the SWAC championship game, and 8-0 undefeated in conference play, obviously the season as well. Featuring in that matchup, led by Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, who was the coach of the year for the SWAC. On the defensive side of the ball, they had SWAC Player of the Year, Aubrey Miller Jr., linebacker there. And they're led by a quarterback that I'm sure most people have known by now, Shedeur Sanders, who was the Offensive Player of the Year. That's the number one ranked team. You go to the number two ranked team, who was the MEAC Coach of the Year, Trey Oliver. Who are they led by? Quarterback, David Richards, who is the Offensive Player of the Year. You have a Defensive Player of the Year from North Carolina Central as well that will be featured in this game. Kylie Baker, defensive back, will be matched up in terms of this. So you have top players that are recognized over the field. When you look at the quarterbacks, you have a top 5 FCS quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. You have a top 15 back, some people would say, as Shedeur is the best pocket passer out there at FCS, certainly at HBCU. You have arguably the best dual threat quarterback, FCS, certainly in terms of HBCUs. Top 15 quarterback, according to different rankings out there in this matchup. I'm not sure what else I can let you know in regards to the matchups. And that's just highlighted with everybody else. Go down and look at first team and second team for the MEAC and how many of them are loaded with North Carolina Central players. Go down the SWAC first team and second team players and how many of them are loaded with Jackson State players. Those players will collide under the guidance of two great coaches in this matchup. Tell me, people be excited about this matchup, John, and why?
You know, Dr. Cavil, God is good. God is good. You could not script this opportunity any better. No one could script this opportunity any better. But that is what championship football is about. And we have the opportunity. I mean, I've had numerous conversations with our producers. We can't wait to tell these stories, because a part of the commitment that we have with this bowl game is how do we make stars out of players and coaches? How do we make stars out of players and coaches? So when you bring in this many stars to a championship level game, anyone who doesn't have a ticket should be crying right now. They should be weeping. And anyone, but yet what they are also, whether they're weeping on one hand, should be happy on the other hand that they have the ability to be able to watch this. These games back in history of HBCUs, people couldn't watch them unless you were there. This is going to be one of the biggest games, in my opinion, when you look at bowl games. It's going to be one of the biggest matchups out there until you get to the CFP, the playoffs, and the championship. And to be able to open the season with an HBCU game with that much talent, as you described, from coaches to players and how they rank, man, I can't even wait until next Saturday, until the 17th. You know, and so you guys have done a great job analyzing this over the last couple of weeks and the last weeks coming in. The season itself sort of built itself up to this moment. Ups and downs, and it was topsy-turvy. Who's in, who's out? You're in 1 minute, and then 20 minutes later, you're out to get to this. So this is what it should be. And we're excited to be the stage that where this is demonstrated.
Yeah. As a great football poet once said, he played with the New York Jets and now is an ESPN sports analyst, football analyst, if you would. And you know about that. Bart Scott, can't wait. I can't wait.
You know, and listening to the coaches today in our press conference, and you know the amount of focus that they both have coming into this game. The great thing about this, when you get to the Celebration Bowl, you can throw records out the window. And we've seen that happen. We saw that happen last year. You throw records out the window. It's going to come down to who's best prepared, who makes the least amount of mistakes, who has studied the other one most, and who has the best game plan, and who executes that game plan the best. And with a stage this big, and with everything that's on the line, that's what makes this our Super Bowl. And that matchup that you just described, oh my gosh, there are bowl games out there that would pay money for that, and we have it.
We'll leave it right there. Great comments, great thoughts. Any last statement that you want to make that we didn't ask in terms of the questions as we get excited? As you see, a champion will rise for the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl November 17th at 12 o'clock. High noon, toe will meet leather and we will get it on. And God willing, the creek doesn't rise, as they say. We will be right there in the house to check it all out and make sure that we can tell the story of what took place from our vantage point to everybody else as they talk about what took place, and the memories will last a lifetime.
Well, you've just described it. This is the Earps and the Clantons at the OK Corral at high noon. And so we just can't wait to see it. You guys continue to do what you do. You do it better than anyone else. And we just want to make sure that you have, which you will, something to talk about when this game is over. And as we close out the season. So thank you for having me on today.
Well, thank you for listening to Inside HBCU Sports Lab. You've heard it. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our guest, John Grant. Stayed a little extra time to really go inside this game to talk about the business, talk about the culture, talk about even vision and innovation and what does it mean and what do you have to be prepared for to really take it to the next level. When we told you about the stories of on the field, Charles Bishop will be there as he'll be with the pregame show as they'll get you ready to take you inside like you never had before. Obviously, we have Joshua Sims Jr. That will make sure you get some information from North Carolina Central and give you all the information to take you inside like you've never seen before. And Big Mike Washington will take you into some data. And then he'll even touch you up a little bit to tell you about the sights and sounds outside and rank you for, as he likes to do, the tailgate specials. Can't anybody do it like Mike when that happens. With that, make sure you download my JBN, my BCSN. Obviously, check out Ryan and AD Drew. They'll get into some questions and they'll have a special guest. You might even see John Grant to give you some even more perspective on that show. So check that out on Sunday. Obviously, you have the ONG Strike Zone every Wednesday. We do our things Tuesday and Thursday. So continue to check us out, show us love. Saturday, you have the Carlos Brown Show as he makes sure he takes you inside what's going on with the Jaguars and takes you around the SWAC and HBCU sports and even gives you a little love on the Louisiana sporting side. With that, follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Again, we want to thank you for listening, Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watch, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Obviously, we'll be doing a live show right there in Atlanta, probably from the Omni. And then they have on Friday, you have Radio Row. We're committed to bringing you some great interviews on Radio Row with some of those players we talked about and some other ones, as well as the leadership around the SWAC and probably even some sponsors in terms of why they're connected and want to be connected and why you should be connected with that space. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1, if you always want to get updates and comments on Twitter, you can see what we're saying there. Facebook and YouTube, HBCU Sports Lab. Usually I would tell you to get your tickets, but other than standing room only, and however you can find a way to get to StubHub and some of those, you might be able to find some additional tickets, which means if you can't, make sure you turn on your television and make sure you have the Celebration Bowl on. If you can't be there, you can watch it. And if you're not and you're already there, keep it on anyway. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss. I was going to quiz you.